Oh, we are live. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. Welcome to the show. Another reselling show. Wednesdays, 10 o'clock. Appreciate you guys coming out. Before we start talking about today's topic, introduce my brother, my partner in crime. Oscar, how you doing, buddy?
I'm all right. What's up, everybody? I am Oscar Cubanaso, and welcome to another episode of another reselling show. And we have an interesting topic. I think we've kind of asked this question indirectly in several of the past shows, right?
Yes, we have.
Is there room for the small seller on Amazon?
Yeah.
And interesting topic because we know that there's a lot of question marks regarding Amazon and the future of Amazon and sellers on Amazon. But
Yeah, no.
panic.
Go ahead.
Just gonna say, no need to panic.
No need to panic. No need to panic. But you know what? I mean, it is very interesting to see. Now I know people are going to say, "Well, what's your definition of a small seller?" Amazon. There's all different sellers and everything. And look, obviously, we're not talking about, the six-figure, seller. When we're talking about the person who is someone like myself, who's a part-time seller. I mean, can't still has a regular job, so it's not like you can devote, 100% full-time hours to it. Now, don't get me wrong, it feels like you work, at a full-time pace, but with part-time hours of making sure that you use all those hours. But my reason for this and what really has sparked this is that I'm a small time seller. I have no issues, saying that, owning up to it and everything. And it seems over the last, few months, I have just been getting hit multiple times each week with products being removed, in my opinion, for no real valid reason. Now, a lot of them have to do with they're looking for a what is that thing called again? The certificate. They're looking for a certificate of authenticity, not authenticity. That would be if we were doing autographs. But they're looking
Child product certificate.
right. They're looking for the child product certificate. And what irritates the crap out of me is I cannot believe that all these toys that have been selling for all this time, all of a sudden, don't have certificates on hand. And who and how many sellers are getting these, and how many of us are getting thrown off and removed from that listing, and how many are staying? Because here's the one thing, something is definitely going on, because if I take the ASIN that is telling me that it is being removed, it doesn't show up. So does that mean the listing is completely canceled? And it's making harder for the small time seller like myself, who now is wondering, what the hell can I actually go ahead and sell? In what categories? It's not, is there room for the small seller? Yeah, I'm sure there is. But it seems as though the categories are getting more and more restricted. And it almost makes you wonder, as you look long term, okay, where's the product going to come from? Or are they come? Because like I said, the ones that I'm getting removed, I don't know if you've had any removed, but for me, the ones that are getting removed, that ASIN, if I copy and paste that ASIN from the email that I get from Amazon, and I go to Amazon and I put it in, it doesn't come up.
You know that I can just assume I haven't had any listings removed, simply because the few times that they have requested that certificate, I've sold it or I've just completely taken it down, right? Whatever, when it was requested of me, I just sold it or I just took it down. I had 3 that I took down, and then every other time I just, sold it. Right? At times, maybe I didn't lose anything, but maybe didn't make much. Just didn't want to deal with it. Just took it down. Um, Surprisingly, on any items that I am able to obtain the child product certificate or any form that they would ask for me from, a wholesaler, they just didn't ask for it. On a specific ASIN that I had legitimately and I'm able to supply any type of documentation that they need, they never asked me for it. But I guess I can just assume that maybe the reason why a person wouldn't be able to see that ASIN is because maybe the user that's logged in has been blocked from searching for that ASIN again through add a new product, just so that they won't be able to take it down and then list it again and restart that whole process of, the time limit before you need to turn in that form. That's just me, just speculating, right? But it could be something that Amazon, is doing just for that reason. I know if I was Amazon and I was going to give somebody a deadline to give me that form, I'd put a block on that ASIN for them not to be able to, delete the products and listing, and then go ahead and, search for it again, and then relist the products and restart that whole window of time all over again.
Well, I'm going to take a couple of these ASINs and I'm going to email them to my wife and have her just see if she could go buy it on Amazon.com and see if that ASIN shows up for her.
All right, while you're at it, see if you're still on there. If she can see you, or is it you're blocked?
Well, that's true.
If she can look through the stickers and find your store and see if you're visible, even while Amazon is waiting for you to, just out of curiosity. I don't know if you've ever done the test.
Like you, I have been fortunate in that I have had only one product where I have put a removal order in. That most of my other ones have all been okay. I have sold out and everything, but the problem I had is that when I sent them in and then they were selling, everything was great, and then I was actually able to find more. So it was, these are toys, Christmas time. Let me put them in my inventory and hold on to them. And then in September or so, ship them in, FBA. Well, now all those have been taken down. And now I have to, now again, I understand. And there's going to be people out there going, hey, man, don't worry about it. Just pick another website to go ahead and sell off of. I get that. I understand that. But that ain't the freaking point. Stuff like that and everything. Oh, we got some people coming in. Hello, Douglas. Thank you for coming. Appreciate it. Pete, how are you, sir? Hope all is well with you two gentlemen. Thank you very much for showing. But that's what I'm talking about, right? It's not that I went ahead and had product that I had to recall and then I had put in orders, recall orders. It's not that. It's the fact that I had stuff now that I just have to now turn around and sell them on another site. Again, it's not the end of the world. It just was not something that I was expecting. Now, I am going to watch and see. And if we don't get that, we don't get that message that says, hey, you're not allowed to sell, toys. Well,
right?
Yeah.
That's devastating.
Right. If we don't get that, and we still are allowed to, then I will wait and see and search for these products and just do them FBM.
Once they say that right before the start of the holiday season, the requirements are that you have to have sold $50,000 or some number, right?
No, you're right. And look,
They can do it pretty much anything.
and that's where it makes you wonder, is there room for the small seller? It's like, so if they're doing with this with toys, I don't sell a lot of health and beauty. Are they going to be doing the same thing in the health and beauty category? What about people that do supplements? You know what I'm saying? From that standpoint, or for crying out loud, food.
The people
You
that
know,
do supplements, I wouldn't consider them a small seller. I mean, if they're, doing RA for supplements, yeah, but I guess people that are private labeling supplements.
well, yeah. I mean, and you know, you're right from that standpoint. I agree with you from there. But I'm just saying, from a standpoint of is that I wonder what else is getting all of this type of stuff. If it's happening in the toy area, is it happening in health and beauty? Is it happening in food? You know,
Um,
are
I
they?
I would think that in some of these more, restricted categories like topicals, something that you put on your skin, something that you ingest, anything like that, that it has its own, um, requirements that you need to meet, right? For some products, if you want to jump on them, you want to list, or if you want to get engaged in some of these categories, they ask for, specific documentation. I can only imagine that on specific items, they probably would ask for something similar to what they're asking on toys,
Mhm.
just for the simple fact of you're actually selling a product that people are going to ingest. You're selling a product that people are going to put on their skin. I know that um, it's been brought up and it's been on the news and it's been to court several times. The importance of toys and and anything really that's for a child. So I know that that's something that's been heavily guarded, heavily restricted, for the simple fact that you don't want to have one of your items cause any harm to a child. That's why
Right.
they probably put these type of restrictions on that. You don't want to sell a product that has small parts, but it's not labeled properly that has small parts. It's supposed to be, that this is for children ages 4 to 12. Anything under that is a completely different ballgame. I know that there's much more restrictions on products that are between, babies and up to 3 years old. Those are more heavily restricted than anything 4 to 12. So I could just imagine that they would have something similar, for other categories. Just it happens to be that, what at least I am to speak for myself, I sell the most of is just that, is toys. So
But I'm saying, from a standpoint of it, I mean, again, what does it do for the small seller? You're right. There are a lot of smaller sellers out there who they went to, I don't know, a XYZ, .com, and bought, something to get ungated, in toys, right? And they did it just to get ungated in toys because when they do their RA, or when they're doing, if they're doing, some OA, what I'm saying, they can now sell that stuff, so that because they can afford to buy, once you get ungated, you know you break even, lose a couple dollars, so on and so forth from that standpoint over here. But that, hey, as I'm going to do some OA, I don't have to buy 10, 15, 20. I can buy 5. I could buy 3, I could buy 5, so on and so forth. So that's where the small seller winds up getting hurt, in that all of a sudden, they got ungated by doing it the right way. They didn't, do it the wrong way. Amazon said to get ungated, you have to have an invoice for at least 10 or whatever it is, 12 of an item, and you have to show an invoice. So they do that. So they do everything there that is right. Now maybe in the paperwork somewhere, not in the paperwork, on the website somewhere, it says, hey, You know, if you want to sell a toy, you will have to provide this child, safety, or this for, topicals, or this for, a food item. Maybe that's in there somewhere, but you would think during the ungating process, that would be one of those things that would come up. And it would be like, hey, yes, you're in toys, but just so you know, now you have to have this. So that's what I'm saying. That it hurts the small seller. It hurts it puts the small seller. Not, I mean, a small seller a lot of times is at a disadvantage because they maybe can't buy as well as as a big seller. But it puts them in even more of a disadvantage now. Because number one, a lot of times you don't even know when you list it.
Right. But you know what? I mean, I think that these type of restrictions, again, it's going to depend on the seller, though. 100%, it's always going to depend on the seller. But these type of restrictions kind of push the seller to kind of legitimize their business a little bit better. It kind of pushes you to be able to, if you can't get some of these brands and provide these forms for specific toys. Let's say we're talking about Mattel, for example, and you have a Mattel toy and you don't have that form. It should push you to try to find a source,
Right.
a distributor that can actually supply these forms when you need it for that specific brand. You know what I mean? So I look at it in that. It does make it a little bit more challenging for sellers that do want to sell the stores, as you said, 08, buy 3, 5, 10. They don't necessarily, they already did it to get engaged for whatever reason. But in a lot of cases, it should push them to find, a wholesaler or distributor that can supply these forms. So, in the beginning, we all got away with it, right? We all got away with it. Everybody in the chat, we all got away with it. But now, Amazon, in terms of the heat, they're requiring a little bit more information. We should be able to adapt to it. It's it goes with with growth. It goes hand in hand with growth. So we should be able to find the distributor. I too, I consider myself a small seller. My numbers are good on a year over year. But I still consider myself a small seller because I'm not private labeling. I don't have a warehouse. Mostly
Right.
everything that I do order from wholesalers, and I do online arbitrage. And recently, I've been doing very little retail arbitrage. But a lot of the things that I do, 99% of the time, if I do need to supply that, I know that I can get it from my distributor because my distributor, I have 2 distributors that I normally buy from. They both sell pretty much all of the brands. So, I guess it would be an invitation to a small seller to kind of grow their business and legitimize their business and look for, better sources for their products. And again, it does put small sellers at a disadvantage in the beginning, but kind of that push at the end, I think it could be, a push in the right direction.
Sue, welcome. How you doing? Sue makes a good point here. I mean, when she says, unless it's changed recently, it would only be for new listings that doesn't have the safety sheet already. And I guess the point is that what's considered a new listing? How old is a new listing?
Well,
If
we've
something,
seen listings that were very low. I've seen some that they were a month, right? You have no historical data on it, none whatsoever, no sales rank, no nothing. And they did ask me for the form. In that case, I could have provided it, um, but I didn't have to because my item sold.
right.
On another case, this was a listing that had already been up for a while, and then all of a sudden they started to ask for that documentation. So it
Right.
could have been both. It could have been that typically they were doing it on listings, but it also could have been that all of a sudden Amazon wants to start doing it, and then they began to do it on over listings as well. Because
I mean, for me, it has happened on listings that are less than 40,000 in toys. High high, 30 something thousand rank in toys. That's not a new toy. And I'm not saying, I don't get me wrong. I'm not disputing what Sue is saying, but I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, what is a, what, when if they're talking about a new toy, a new listing, I guess it probably has to go by how months rather than sales rank, because if something all of a sudden hits and it's a hot item, it's going to have a great sales rank, but it's still going to be a new toy.
Yeah, you see them all the time, though. You still see new toys in those low ranks. You go, you take a look at the movers and shakers. You take a look at what's in some of these toy categories, and you can see that some of them are new and still have, you know, very very low rank. But usually it gets pushed on low rank a lot of times because of pre-orders on some items and just the overall trend and the popularity of that toy. It'll get down there. Now I don't know if it's something that's pre-ordered, if they would ask for that form, even if it is pre-ordered, but I would assume it is if it is a toy. Um, I just don't know. I don't have enough experience with
Yeah.
getting
Hey,
those requests to say.
welcome to the OG Land Shark Picker, Mr. Craig. Thank you for stopping by, sir. Appreciate you being here. I don't know. I mean, but I get what you're saying, Oscar. I understand the whole thing, and I understand about trying to make. But it goes back to the question then: if it's if they're doing this to force, and I mean, you have to say that because they're saying, look, if you don't have this, you can't do this, right? I mean, so they're forcing you, to get these things. So in a way, again, how does that not affect a small seller? Because a small seller may not have the means to get the things that are needed.
Oh no, the seller's gonna have one or two options. It's either you're gonna supply it or your listing is gonna get removed, or you can drop the price and get it sold. I mean,
Right. So therefore, is Amazon for again now there are people that I mean I guess you could say, well, hey, if you can't sell in the toy category, you can sell in another category. Yes, you know what? There are multiple categories. But if that's your thing and you're a toy seller and that's where it was and that's how you built, your sales volume and all that kind of stuff on Amazon and everything, and you did the right thing by getting ungated the right way, you know, if all of a sudden now you have to then say, oh, well, my only opportunity to be able to sell on Amazon is for me to go through a wholesaler. Well, I'm a small seller. I can't buy in the quantity that I need to buy to make money. So therefore, this category or something along those sides is it's not for me. They don't want me. Before so, Mr. John Jones, how you doing, sir? Thank you very much for popping in tonight. You know what I'm saying? From that standpoint. So I mean I understand, I get completely what you're saying about the whole invoice and all that kind of stuff, you know. But if I go to XYZ, wholesaler, and they say, hey, you know, yeah, you could buy 5 of those, but it's going to cost you, $18 per.
yeah.
Well, hell, I'm
So
not
what you
I'm not there's no profit there, on a lot of those products, there's not gonna be a lot of profit there when, there's a $30, buy box price.
right, and a lot of the products that I do buy from wholesalers are typically in that range between 12 and 18 bucks, right? When we're talking toys, and if you're referring to you know when you have um, somewhat of a margin that you can make profit when you're doing retail arbitrage and buying stuff on clearance. There's definitely a risk every time you're buying clearance. You know what I mean? So that's gonna be part of that risk. it's going to go back to what I said before. It's about growth. That's the only option that a small seller is going to have to have. You're going to have to adapt to it. You're going to have to find yourself a supplier, because in reality, if we want to sell on Amazon's platform, we're going to have to play by their rules. And if they ask for that form, honestly, I don't think, we got to be realistic here, right? We can be upset about a lot of Amazon's practices as far as the lack of support that we get from Amazon seller support,
Right.
right? A lot of things, the way that they manage their returns and things like that. We can be upset about it, right? But in reality, if we want to sell on their platform, we have to adapt to their rules. That's it. There's really nothing else to it, right? We have to be able to find a way to kind of maneuver our way through, the hoops that they put out. So at the end of the day, it kind of comes down to each individual seller. If they see it as it's worth them jumping through the hoops and finding a wholesaler and finding a way to actually get past all of these hurdles for them to continue selling on the platform, or find an alternative. I've heard a lot of stories actually that recently, and I want to say in the past year and a half, that people have opened up brick and mortars. People have started their own website, and they've been very successful at it. We're talking about percentages where normally their business was 85% coming from Amazon, and now they're looking at 35% because the other avenues that they have now are doing so well for them. So
Right.
at the end of the day, it's going to be the small seller decision. All right, are they ready to really grow their business, or are they going to really stick around just doing nothing but clearance items, right? Or maybe not even just clearance items, but scanning stuff at the stores without having really an invoice from. Because there's times that Amazon's going to ask for that. You know what I mean? I mean, if you get an IP claim, what are you going to do? You're going to present a Walmart receipt. That'll work for you, but for how long? So it's really up to each individual seller. Now, are we going to say that there is no place for Amazon, for small sellers on Amazon? Honestly, I got to be completely honest. Like, you know me, I complain a lot about a lot of the things that I don't like
Yeah.
about
No
Amazon, right?
problem.
You know,
Uh-huh.
but if you think about it, Amazon has given opportunity to a lot of people that otherwise maybe we're selling just summer cars, selling locally, or who knows, eBay only, you know. But now they've been very successful because of Amazon. So you know, Amazon does give you an opportunity to maybe start off as a small seller, but if you're actually really able to grow your business and adapt to and learn the ins and outs of selling on a platform like Amazon, you ultimately be very, very successful. There's a lot of success stories.
Right. And I'm gonna get there for a second, but I just wanted to as Sue has said, hey, yes, it's always been Amazon's,
Pop it up. Pop it up on the
sandbox.
screen.
You know, uh, right. It has always been Amazon's sandbox, and they change the rules often. 100% guaranteed. Agree with you there. Safety sheet is required by the government. Got that? No problem. As long as one seller provides, all the sellers should be okay. That I don't believe, Sue. That I don't believe that
Yeah,
part is happening anymore.
yeah, I've heard
because
that too.
because
That
because
before.
because I've had the ASINs that my product have been removed, and it was an ASIN, and then if I go to look for it, that ASIN's not there anymore. So it's like they're removing it completely. Now maybe they're just changing the ASIN and stuff like that, and I have to do a little more investigation, from that standpoint. Um, yep, had a claim denied. Seller I work for now. What? Deny says it's a private investigation, so we can't share with you why we won't accept your info. Makes sense. Here's one. I know a young lady that's doing real good with her own website. She's made more money this year than she has the last 5 years. Yep, I think you're gonna see that.
and
Boatman, how you doing, buddy?
and,
But
and it's
so so to 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 build on what you are saying, when you're saying, hey, it's Amazon's way of making making you become better, or making you become to grow your business, then Amazon is basically saying, we don't want the small seller, we want you right there, you Mr. O right there.
that's not what they're saying though. What what they're saying is that they want legitimate sellers regardless of the size. They want responsible sellers that can abide by, what's required as a legitimate business, regardless of the size. I mean, I
But
can
you
tell
got to be legit. But
you,
I don't. But you can't. What's a legitimate business then?
we started this talking about the small seller. I sell over $100,000 a year with no problem. I still consider myself a small seller.
You're not a small seller.
I am a small seller. I am a
No,
small seller.
I
Absolutely.
don't see. But again, what is a small seller?
A small seller is a small person. I don't have a brick and mortar.
But
I,
so is a small seller based off of how
the,
many
the size,
how many ASINs you sell, how many
no,
people work for your
not
company?
necessarily. Not necessarily, because I can use Alex, that man, as the perfect example. He's probably selling 42 items and he does well with, just 42 items, right? Something around those lines, 40, 45. And he does well with it. You know what I mean? I
Right.
have more than that. Well, between Amazon and eBay, I have a lot more than that. But still, I consider myself a small seller. Why? Because my business is me. I'm a single member LLC. It's just me. I don't have a storefront. I don't have a website. I am just selling on eBay and selling on Amazon, and that's it. So I consider myself a small seller. It has nothing to do with numbers. It has nothing to do with, it's more or less the size of your business. How much product are you moving? How
Right.
much?
Right. So that's what I'm saying. So a person who is a part-time seller, and maybe that's what it is, maybe part-time for the win, I don't know, or a small seller, meaning you know what, they pay their, you know they pay their $40 a month. They go ahead and do 25, 30, 40 grand a year in Amazon. That's not a lot of money.
No, it's not.
Not a lot of money. I mean,
Especially when
that's
you're
less
looking
than
at
$4,000 in sales a month if you're doing 40,
right. And if you
right?
think about it, when you consider, those numbers and what the average return on the investment normally is, you're talking what, 30 to 45% maximum.
Right.
Right? So that's really not big numbers. But when we're talking about volume, how much product are you really moving? If I'm working out of my house and I have product in my garage and I'm receiving, shipments from wholesalers to my home, I can consider myself a small seller. I'm not receiving pallets. I'm receiving boxes, and sometimes FedEx has them stacked up right by my front door in a way that I can't open up my gate. You know what I mean? But that's still small. But does Amazon not want small sellers? No, just want sellers that are able to provide the documents needed. And as Sue said, some of these things have a lot to do with legal requirements. Again, child products is something that's very iffy. You know what I mean? You
No,
have to
I don't disagree with them needing the stuff, with them wanting something. Holy cow, it's a Sunny sighting. Las Vegas thrift showing up. What up, Sonny? Um, I I'm not debating or so about needing the paperwork and so on and so forth. But what I'm saying is that the person who does not have a lot of money to invest, it is going to be difficult for them in the toy category to be successful, because if you have to, if you're going to a wholesale, again, maybe I just find all the wrong ones. Maybe I go to the wholesalers where the pricing, is horrible. All right. So that could be a me thing. All right. So I'll take all the blame on that one.
the pricing is
You
something
know,
that's
but
horrible.
again, what wholesaler is going to sell to you if you're not going to be buying $500 a month, $1,000 a month worth of product?
Um, well, I mean, you can find wholesalers that'll 400, 350, and then the
But
ship.
you're limiting what you can, but you're limiting, but you're all of a sudden now you go from, you go from the bottom of the pyramid of having that wide of a product base to now getting towards the top where it's getting smaller. and now you're going to be more limited in what you can sell. So what do you do?
I mean,
Not,
it does make it more difficult, as you said, for
right,
someone that doesn't have money to invest. 100%, right?
right,
So, I mean, if we're talking about, I didn't start in the toy category. I didn't. I started with books,
right.
and then selling books made me money where I can actually. It was just strictly. I mean, come on. Half the people in the chat, remember my whole beginnings with addicts doing the garage sales. We find stuff, I find books, and started selling books until I was able to build up enough money to invest in other things,
Right.
and I graduated in topicals, right? And then I worked that in a way, where I can also invest in another than toys, and you build your way up. It's gonna be the same process for everybody, but you're absolutely right, because we did not have to supply these forms in the beginning when we were starting in toys. Now it's a little bit more difficult for small sellers.
I mean, I don't get, like I said, I understand it. I get it. It's not about the toy category. It's just about the thing of is that if, and I'm not saying that a seller should not have to provide, but if there's a listing that has 15 people on it, I hope, if one person is the only person who's able to get that letter, at least, I mean, good for them. Good for them. I guess that's all you could say. You tip your cap to them, and then you move on and everything. But like I said, unless there's blocking going on somehow, which, like I said, I'm gonna have to send a couple of the the ASINs to my wife and have her go to Amazon.com and see if if she puts it in, and if the product doesn't show available or not. That's going to be interesting from that standpoint. I just think, we're all legitimate sellers to sell on Amazon, because if you can't provide all the documentation that you need of having insurance and all the other kind of stuff, then you shouldn't be approved to sell on Amazon.
Right, but we kind of winged it in the beginning what a legitimate seller was, right? In the beginning, I mean, at least I'm gonna speak in my case. You kind of wing. You're not really a legitimate seller. I wasn't a legitimate seller in the beginning. I didn't consider myself a legitimate seller. I was just learning, right? And then kind of going along as I went. And I guess this is part of it. This is part of that growth, getting over these
I guess, I mean, like I said, I guess maybe it's just certain categories. Maybe, maybe, to, I'm just saying that I understand the documentation is needed. I don't understand how the hell, uh, Amazon can't get the stuff.
well, I mean, Amazon doesn't really shouldn't have to. We should be able to supply. Honestly, if we're selling a product on Amazon, we should have, and this is legit, we should have everything that we need for that product.
Then there's a shit ton of people who shouldn't be selling on Amazon that should all get their friggin' accounts closed.
No, it's not. That's a little extreme, bro.
Well, why? No, seriously. Why shouldn't my account be shut down then?
Your account shouldn't be shut down because you should be.
I can't, but I can't. I cannot provide I cannot provide documents on every single product that I have listed.
Why?
Because of RA.
Because it's RA. Okay.
Yeah.
What would be a solution to that?
Find a distributor. But I can't find a distributor. I can't find a distributor where I can buy something at $6 or $7, where I can buy it on RA or OA.
But
I can't buy that exact same product from a distributor.
Usually the distributor has an email that's specifically for these child product certificates where you can just sell them. It's like, hey, you find it on their price list, you find it on their site, and you send over an email to that email address and you ask them, I need a child product certificate for this, and you give them their SKU number and they'll send it to you. Doesn't matter if you bought it from them. You know what I mean? So it's all about finding a distributor. You find your source. You know what I mean? It's as I said before, you're selling Mattel, right? Maybe you didn't buy the Mattel product for them, but a lot of times they're not really gonna check. They're just gonna look at your email. They're gonna see the SKU. This person, he's one of our clients. He needs a child product certificate for this specific product, and they'll send it to you.
All right, well, I guess I'll have to try that. I
It's about it's sometimes the most obvious things is we're the ones that complicate everything, right? We complicate the shit out of everything.
mm-hmm.
And sometimes a lot of the solutions they're just very simple. You just have to take a step back and look at it. What's the problem that I'm facing right now? Okay, I need this child product certificate. How the hell do I get a child product certificate? All right, it is for this specific, let's say GI Joe. All right, GI Joe, I need a child product certificate for GI Joe. Who makes GI Joe? All right, let me contact them, see if they can provide it to me. Oh yeah, do you have an account with us? No, I don't have an account with you. How can I open an account with you? And then you get your foot in the door that way. A lot of times, honestly, I think a lot of people sometimes they forget um, that they shouldn't be afraid to hear the word no. And sometimes a wholesaler will tell you no. I've had in the past month, I've had two wholesalers tell me no. I was trying to open an account with them and they told me they can't. But they told me the reason why. They told me at this time we're unable to keep up with the demand for our existing clients and therefore we're unable to open an account for you. And I understand that. But I won't stop there. I'll continue to find, I'll continue to search. And then when you do search, you do end up finding. So a small seller, that's part of the growth for them. A small seller needs to be able to grow in that aspect. You know what I mean?
But once again, you're assuming that small seller wants to grow to be a big seller.
No, it's not about maybe they don't want to be, but that's part of their growth. Maybe they don't want to be a big seller. Having a wholesale account doesn't make you a big seller. I am not a big seller.
No, yes, you could get a whole bunch of wholesale accounts and say, hey, I have a whole bunch of wholesale accounts. But we both know that wholesale works best when you are able to buy a large quantity and get quantity breaks.
What's the solution if you're not able to buy large quantities?
Well, that's what I'm saying. I'm just using toys as an example. It's, hey, I can't sell toys. I need to shift to a different category. Then maybe I can come back to toys when I become a big seller because I'm making a lot more money.
Yeah.
See, small seller. There's a small seller thing. Small seller does have a lot to do about the dollars and cents. It has a lot to do with that because you don't have the buying power, right? When you don't have the funds available to purchase.
And I know all about that. There's been several occasions where I haven't been able. I have like $1,100 in pre-orders right now, right? That hopefully that those pre-orders get allotted to me. It doesn't look like it will, but it's I've made it so that in case they are allotted to me, right? They can automatically ACH my account. I don't have to worry about it because I've done that. I've made sure that I've grown my business to a point where I'm gonna have money for me to buy more inventory. So it's all about growth at the end of the day. I mean, we're talking about small sellers, and small sellers, is there a place for them on Amazon? Absolutely. But they are responsible to be able to maintain that place to be able to sell on Amazon. And with that, you need to be responsible with, the profits that you're making, reinvesting your money, and it all comes hand in hand with being a legitimate seller, whether you're large or small at the end of the day. I'm telling you, I still consider myself small, but I make sure that everything that that I need so that my business can continue to maybe not even grow, right? Maybe just stay consistent, because consistency is something that I learned has been the most important thing, especially for a small seller on Amazon, to stay consistent, because you could have those months, right? We've talked about it before. When's our prime time? Q4 and Q1, right?
Right.
And then maintaining some sort of consistency throughout the rest of the year.
Right.
So that's part of, the whole thing about having your place in Amazon as a small seller.
Right. I'm not disagreeing
I know.
with anything that you're saying. What I'm saying is though is that there,
I
we're
get it.
talking about toys because that's where
It's
we are.
not
That's where the hell that's where I am, right? I'm saying from that standpoint. So for me, who is the small seller, there's not a lot of room for me in the toy category. To Sue's point right there are thousands of other products aside from toys to sell. That's 100% correct. But I would bet, again, if the idea is that more and more of this, hey, you need to provide, once you get ungated in a category, and even if you had documentation on 4 products, the 5th, the 6th, the 7th, the 8th product you tried and sell that you were able to get on OA, you were able to get on RA. If all of a sudden now they start asking for documentation on that, again, it just affects the people's buying, the way a seller has to buy, and I don't think me going to 100,000 a year to 150 to 200,000, that's not small anymore. That's not small. I'm not saying one person can't do it, but that's not small anymore, in my opinion. That's just me. That's just my little humble Michael Gentili Thrifting Goomba opinion. That's what I think. If you're doing that kind of money, I don't consider you my own. I don't look at you as a small seller. You may have a small operation, but it doesn't make you a small seller. You're doing serious volume. You have money coming in, you have money going out, you have a good money flow if you're doing that kind of, those kind of dollars.
It's honestly, it's nothing. It's not a lot. It's not. I mean, if you think about, at the end of the day, what the take home is, well, maybe I'm just, I think, bigger, right? But like $100,000 is nothing. It's not a lot of money. I don't see it. I don't consider myself a large seller because I've broken the $100,000 mark. That's not the way I look at it. Now I look at it, the large operation. It's like you have a warehouse and you're receiving pallets of stuff. And then you have your company is you have people working for you. That's the way I see it, right? Maybe you have some private label. You got a lot of wholesale accounts, right? You even have e-commerce accounts where your distributors are sending it directly to your FBA. You have those kind of accounts. So
Yeah. I mean, I'm listening, like me. I just have to look at it from a standpoint. I've said, from me personally, it's like now I'm saying, okay, I had to pick a different category.
No,
because I'm saying this. Look, this is me talking. This is about my business of what I'm thinking in the short term. My short term thinking is I have to look at other categories that I can build upon, because I need to get a little of something that will bring in a little more consent. I'm not worrying about buying a bunch of product, OA, RA, not through a distributor, not through a wholesaler, I guess, not the, I mean, not, I don't know if it's the right way, the wrong way. It doesn't make a difference. It's a way, right? But to build up a product inventory and then all of a sudden be like, oh, sorry, you can't sell that anymore, right? Now, I know that can happen anywhere. And maybe I need to go back to, like you said, maybe, books, maybe some houseware stuff, maybe some clothes, maybe some other things
I would stay away from books now.
to build up revenue to be able to get and deal with a wholesaler where I can buy more at a larger, at a larger quantity so I can make more money. I mean, I opened up wholesale account, for toys and everything, and I spent, money on toys, but the quantities that I was buying to try and get ungated to be able to sell other things,
Mhm.
if I spent, if I spent $500, maybe I made $5.
If it's
But
the
the reason wasn't to go ahead and become a toy wholesaler or deal with a toy wholesaler. It was to be able to get ungated to then do OA and RA.
right, right. No, I know, I get it, and Amazon just made it a little bit difficult with
Right.
things.
So that's
As
what I'm saying. I mean, just right.
I said before, we didn't have to deal with this in the beginning, right? So us, I mean, again, when I was just starting off, where I didn't have money to invest, pretty much, uh, I didn't have to worry about that. So I
Right.
guess in that aspect, I was fortunate. But now, how everything's changed, it's you have to adapt.
Yeah. No, you have to adapt. I mean, no, I mean, there is room, you know, for the small seller, on Amazon. I just think you're looking at now, whereas where maybe if you thought you were a small seller and you were going to dabble in a bunch of different categories, that maybe now you can't really do that. You have to shrink it down a little bit in the beginning,
Mm.
build your business if that's what you so desire, to be able to open up other categories for you.
And I think that's the smart thing, right? You focus on something, you stay focused, because sometimes you look at everything, it's like, oh, I can do all of this, right?
Hold
But
on a second. Good night, Sue. Thank you for stopping by. Appreciate you so much. Have a great night. Sorry, sir. But if Sue's leaving, I gotta say goodbye to her.
no, I get it. No, absolutely. But yeah, sometimes people, you look at everything, you look at all the different categories. Oh, I can sell this, I can sell that, I can sell that. Sometimes it's better just to be a little bit more focused on what it is that you want to actually sell. Find a couple products in home category, right? Outdoor category, whatever category, right?
Right.
A couple products and then build those up. Find some that are replenishables, and then move to another category. But that's in the beginning.
Right. And I think but I think the person who, has been, just a consistent, whatever, averaging, a few thousand a month, 3,000 a month in sales, not profit. This is just sales, right? Not talking profits, but that person who's doing that, they have to just be, so the smaller seller, has to actually become more strategic. The small seller has to become smarter because they have to be able to buy at the right price at the right time, to make as much profit as possible. So the smaller seller, needs to be more focused. That's what I'm saying. It might be
And
where
that's the most important thing right there. What you just said is pretty much you need to buy smart, especially in the beginning.
right. And I think the learning, as we're talking about this for 55 minutes, 53 minutes, whatever it is, it's making me understand. And I think it's, looking at the way things are and stuff. And it's, hey, it's as you're learning, as you're a small seller, as long as you have the mentality that you're a small seller, you probably need to be more at the top of the pyramid for category than at the bottom, right? You probably need to go a little more, you know, not I don't want to say deeper into one category, but you probably need to not go as wide, not say, hey, I'm going to sell in 15 different categories, right? Maybe you need to pare that down and start off with 5 and do really well to be able to build up to where, so that's what I'm saying. So now, knowing what I know now about the toy stuff, okay, so what I need to do, is build up the inventory where I can buy the toy or open up the account with someone who sells the toys that I maybe can find OARA and not always have to buy them, wholesale. But I can at least then say, hey, I have an account. I have this product. Here's the SKU. Can you give me the paperwork? From that standpoint. I'm not saying, there's no room at all for a small seller. I just think a small seller, needs to pay more attention. I think, like you said, where it was, hey, I'm just gonna, I'll buy a little bit of this, buy a little bit of that, buy a little bit of this and stuff, and now all of a sudden you can't do that.
We got away with it.
Yeah.
We got away with it in the beginning.
We were living the high life.
We were spoiled. Got away with everything. I mean, I'll never forget my first IP claim. I was panicking.
Right.
Oh, they had $600 of mine. I'm never gonna see it again. Lost $600. But it took me 21 days to beat that, and got my account for $600.
But I mean, overall, you know what? Like I said, there is room. So yes, to answer the question, there is room for the small seller. The small seller needs to learn how to be more strategic right out of the box. Whereas with some other platforms, might not necessarily have to be.
100%.
Where you could throw a whole bunch of shit against the wall and see what sticks.
Yeah.
Where with Amazon, you probably got to look at it and go, this ain't going to stick. Let me put that one back. Oh, this one's going to stick. I can try this one.
Yeah, you definitely got to learn, all of the different guidelines and, requirements that Amazon has before you really, jump in. I mean, there's a lot. There's a lot. I don't know if anybody in the chat actually takes the time once you're in your Seller Central to look at all of the forum postings that come up from the forums and all the issues that other sellers have that they post on the forum, because I read through those things, and it's a lot of things, and it's kind of what you learn from there. It's not textbook. It's not textbook whatsoever, but
not at all.
You learn how to navigate through Amazon's guidelines and policies, even though you're a legitimate seller, because we all know that they're not perfect. Amazon is not perfect. Their seller support is not perfect. The people reviewing your applications and your invoices, they're not perfect. You can make simple mistakes and get suspended. Dumb mistakes, like, really? You're suspending me because of that?
Right. No. I mean, you're 100% correct. I just think, like I said, I mean, the toy category definitely is a one where, small seller, you got to be really, really smart and consider, what else you can sell. Like Sue had said, there are thousands of products that you can, sell. It's just a matter of trying to find them somewhere at a good price that you could afford, that you can actually make some money. Because I'm like I said, I don't know. I haven't looked for a wholesaler, for, I don't care, any product, whatever the product may, that's not a toy product, right? I mean, pick a product, okay, men's socks. If you decide you want to go with men's socks for whatever, reason, and if the socks are going on Amazon,
there's probably a lot of socks that have a very, very low sales rank, and probably you can find one that has decent margins.
Right, but there are probably a lot that have a low sales rank, but the profit probably is not there.
That's why I said there's probably one that has decent margins.
Right. That's the hard part, right? You know what I'm saying? So that's what I'm saying is that, it's easy to say, but you could buy that wholesale. It doesn't make a difference. If Amazon is, especially if Amazon's on a listing, but even if Amazon isn't on a listing, there are too many sellers out there that, they want to just make their money. But if you're finding something, you're like, oh, wow, these socks, they sell for $12.99. I could make the after profit right now after Amazon fees, it's $4.99. Well, where are you going to find them for a cheap enough wholesaler to where you're going to be able to make a good buck with $4.99 after fees? When you figure all the time and everything, all the stuff you have to do. So I'm just saying from that standpoint, not it it's not easy. And I'm not saying it should be easy. Don't get me wrong. I'm not sitting here saying, hey man, it should be super easy. You should be able to just walk to the store, pick up something off the shelf, put it on Amazon, and make $100. I'm not saying that it should be that, But what I'm saying though is again, it boils down to a fact of that, if you're not bringing in a lot of profit, it's hard, to become a big seller because you make. We've said it, I don't know how many times. You do not make your money when you sell a product. You make your money when you buy a product. So if you don't have the funds, I understand. Well, then, hey, if you don't have the funds, then you shouldn't be selling on Amazon. Yeah, whatever. If you want to be one of those people, go around here. No, I'm not saying you, but there are going to be people that are going to be like, well, you know what? Hey, if you don't like it, just go ahead and, sell someplace else.
Sell on Mercari.
Okay, great. And don't get pissed off. Don't get pissed off when someone says, if you don't like what's going on in the country, go move to another one. Okay, it's the same crap. You know what I'm saying? It's the same bunch of shit.
Don't give up on toys, bro. Don't give up on toys.
No, I'm not going to give up. I'm not going to give up on toys. I'm going to figure out a way to do what I got to do with the shitload of toys I got in my garage.
You're gonna unload them. I have a shitload of toys in my garage too, and the way that everything's looking,
No, I just got to. I got to take that toy, sit down, go on the World Wide Web, and find out what wholesaler sells that, and then see if I can figure out a way to get them to send me the compliance sheet and go from there.
Yep.
It is what it is.
It's we're gonna know, I'd say probably by the middle of October, towards the end of October. If we don't see restocks in any of the big box stores, we're gonna have an amazing holiday season. And the way that everything's looking, toys is gonna be short supply this year. I don't know about.
Well, I mean, we talked about it, a couple weeks ago. I cannot remember the last time I walked into Walmart on a consistent basis. Big box store. I just said Walmart. It could be Target also, and seen the amount of holes there are in a non-holiday season.
I'm gonna tell you, my Target is fully stocked, but the Walmarts aren't.
Yeah.
My Target is fully stocked, and the clearance caps at the end of the aisle, they're stocked too.
Yeah.
Walmart isn't.
Yeah. No. I mean,
especially in like the action figures, the dolls, they're bare.
Yeah, but I don't know if you noticed. You start seeing like the Hot Wheels, Matchbox. Those. If I know now, I know by me, a couple of stores have done a revamping of the aisle, and they make it look like they have a lot more, but they have added more shelves to the bottom, and they've added more shelves to the side, to where now all of a sudden the actual part where the peg hooks go for that stuff is a lot smaller than it used to be.
Yeah.
A lot smaller than it used to be.
They're not fooling anyone.
No, they're not fooling everybody, because especially when you look up, you're like, holy cow, there's not even any overstock above. Because you used to be able to walk in, you grab a couple off the shelf, then you look up and you go, oh yeah, baby, there's 4 or 5 more up there. Thank you very much. Now up there, it's empty.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting. That's why I'm not saying that Amazon should not be asking for the documentation on the toys. I agree. They have to have them and stuff. I just find it hard to believe, again, that every single seller is able to get those. So if you got one and you're still on the listing, hip hip hooray for you. Because when you turn around and you hit that button that says, "Hey, I wonder what my competition's doing," and you look and you see, "Whoa, there is none." Whoa, I'll raise my price $30 now. And that, $39.99, action figure. Well, now you're going to be $69.99.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, for those people that can get them, way to go, man. Way to go. But for those that don't, I hope you're not too deep into them, because that's a bad thing, because just because you have a bunch doesn't mean that you got them from wholesale. It just means you spend a lot of time in the car driving around.
Regardless, they'll still be able to sell it at least on eBay. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
if there's something that you can't sell on Amazon, just unload it on eBay.
Oh, heck yeah. No, I don't disagree with you. I don't disagree. I'm with you right there. I mean, that's what I'm going to do with all the stuff that I keep getting removed. I mean, I have no problem. I'm not concerned about where to sell it. I mean, I know where I'm going to sell it. I would rather sell it on Amazon. Bigger customer base, potentially, bigger sale price. So I would love to be able to sell it there, but if I can't, I'm not concerned. I'm not going to be like, "Oh my gosh, I got X number of dollars in the garage that I can't do anything with." No, I'm not worried about that at all. They'll sell because they are popular stuff. Because if you go into, Walmarts and Targets right now, you can't find these on the shelf. I found some.
A shopping cart full, right?
I found a shopping cart full. I just happened to catch it. But I'll tell you right now, out of the last probably 20 between Target and Walmarts and stuff, that's the only store I've seen with it. And I'm not just talking about going in and out of the ones right in my area. I'm talking about going in Tennessee, going in North Carolina, going to South Carolina, traveling all over the place, and stuff. So I'm not concerned about selling it. Like I said, I would just rather sell it on Amazon because it would be so much easier to just put them all in a box and ship them there, and then just wait for the ching, the ding, the ding, the ding, the ding, the ding, and see that kind of stuff.
And then you see like the 500 and the 600 and daily sales. That's a good feeling. You see that during Christmas time.
Yeah. No, I look at it from this way, right? I'd rather do the work up front, right? Of setting it up, boxing them, doing all the SKU, the putting all the SKU labels on, what I'm saying? I'd rather do all that up front and then let Amazon handle, their part and stuff like that, rather than, doing the whole thing and everything. I mean, it was just from that standpoint. I know, there's still work involved, whether you're boxing up for FBA or you're mailing out for FBM. I mean, there's still that piece that you're doing. It's just a lot easier to go ahead and send a whole to pack up 4 or 5 boxes, bring them to the UPS store and say, "Thank you very much," and turn around and walk out and basically, for the most part, be done at that point. Yeah. But, well, we've gone an hour 8. Time to go ahead and wrap it up. Final thoughts, Oscar?
It's all about growth. That's what I took from the show. It's all about growth. If you're a small seller, there's definitely still a place for you on Amazon if you want to get on their platform. But you got to learn the ins and outs of that platform. And at the end of the day, it's all about scaling up, scaling your business, and getting your business where you would like to get it. Even if you don't want to be a huge seller, right? You don't want to be a large seller. You still be a small seller. Focus on a couple items, couple SKUs, couple ASINs, and still be very successful at it. But at the end of the day, it's all about growth.
Yep. Yeah, most definitely. I mean, like I said, I think at the end of the day, what you realize is that I think if you're a small seller, there is room for you if you are smart. That's probably not the right word, but if you're strategic, if you try and cast a huge net all by yourself, and you're going to have a hard time pulling that net in, and getting everything out of it. So you probably need to cast a smaller net, get familiar, understand what's going on. And if that's all you want to do, like you said, Oscar, if there's 5-10 SKUs and that's what you're happy with doing, then just, hey, as long as you're allowed to sell them, go right ahead. I mean, so there's room for the small seller. Yes, there is. It's You just need to be a little more strategic, as how you obtain your product, until you can take that step up. But the funny thing is it doesn't make a difference, right? Because once you get the taste, and you get the flavor, and you're like, man, I need more, right? You take the next step, and the next step, and the next step, right? I mean, that's really what it's all about at the end of the day. And you do as much as you can, and as long as you're able to handle everything, and have, like you and I have, one man operation or a one woman operation. I don't want to get people mad at me. So, hey, what do we got going on? You got anything going on, Oscar?
This Sunday we got the Bad Boy Show. That's on that Man the Flipper's channel. It's at 9 p.m. So come check it out. And next week we're gonna be on my channel, another reselling show. I'm pretty sure the topics are gonna be somewhat along these lines, but who knows? Who knows? I know that there's a lot of we're in like a it's like a funny period, right? It's like a strange period because nobody knows exactly what's really going on, but everybody has their eyes and ears open. Right. So stay tuned and tune in next week on Wednesday.
Yep. Sonny, thanks a lot for stopping by. Have a great night yourself. Hey, and if you're into sports cards, trading cards, and you like seeing, product ripped open and stuff like that, or if you consider maybe you want to, get into some breaks, stuff like that, check out my son and I's channel, Huddle Card Collection, link in the description below. Having a good time doing that and stuff like that. So, with that, hey, everybody, again, thank you so much for coming. We appreciate each and every one of you that stopped by, that watch and everything. And, with that, hey, until we meet again, until next Sunday, have a great evening, everybody. Have a great weekend, and we'll